Well, Quad said reflectively, it's having everything you wanted when you were a kid. If you can have everything at 50 that you wanted when you were 15, you're happy. Now, when I was 15, and Quat went on and on, describing the symbols, ambitions, and frustrations of his boyhood, which he was now satisfying, until Baker came out of the operating theater. Finished? Gisbella asked eagerly. Finished. After I put him under, I was able to work faster. They're bandaging his face now. He'll be out in a few minutes. Weak? Naturally. How long before the bandages come off? 6 or 7 days. His face will be clean. I thought you weren't interested in his face, dear. It ought to be clean. I don't think I've missed a spot of pigment. You may admire my skill, Gisbella. Also my sagacity. I'm going to back Foyle's salvage trip. What? Quat laughed. You're taking 1,000 to 1 gamble, Baker? I thought you was smart. I am. The pain was too much for him and he talked under the anesthesia. There's 20 million in platinum bullion aboard the Nomad. 20 million? Sam Quat's face darkened, and he turned on Gisbella. But she was furious too. Don't look at me, Sam. I didn't know. He held on me too. Swore he never knew why Dagenham was hounding him. It was Dagenham who told him, Baker said. He let that slip too. I'll kill him, Gisbella said. I'll tear him apart with my own hands, and you won't find anything inside his carcass but black rot. He'll be a curio for your zoo, Baker. I wish to God I'd let you have him. The door of the operating theater opened, and 2 orderlies wheeled out a trolley on which Foyle lay, twitching slightly. His entire head was one white globe of bandage. Is he conscious? Quat asked Baker. I'll handle this, Gisbella burst out. I'll talk to the son of a... Foyle! Foyle answered faintly through the mask of bandage. As Gisbella drew a furious breath for her onslaught, one wall of the hospital disappeared, and there was a clap of thunder that knocked them off their feet. The entire building rocked from repeated explosions, and through the gaps in the walls, uniformed men began jaunting in from the streets outside, like rooks swooping into the gut of a battlefield. Raid! Baker shouted. Raid! Christ Jesus! Quat shook. The uniformed men were swarming all over the building, shouting, Foyle! 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 Baker disappeared with a pop. The attendants jaunted too, deserting the trolley on which Foyle waved his arms and legs feebly, making faint sounds. It's a goddamn raid! Quat shook Gisbella. Go, girl, go! We can't leave Foyle, Gisbella cried. Wake up, girl, go! We can't run out on him. Gisbella seized the trolley and ran it down the corridor. Quat pounded alongside her. The roaring in the hospital grew louder. Foyle! 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 Leave him, for God's sake, Quat urged. Let them have him. No. It's a lobotomy for us, girl, if they get us. We can't run out on him. They skidded around a corner into a shrieking mob of post-operative patients. Birdmen with fluttering wings. Mermaids dragging themselves along the floor like seals. Hermaphrodites. Giants. Pygmies. 2-headed twins, centaurs, and a mewling sphinx. They clawed at Gisbella and Quat in terror. Get him off the trolley! Gisbella yelled. Quat yanked Foyle off the trolley. Foyle came to his feet and sagged. Gisbella took his arms, and between them, Sam and Giz hauled him through a door into a ward filled with Baker's temporal freaks, subjects with accelerated time sense, darting around the ward with lightning rapidity of hummingbirds and emitting piercing bat-like squeals. Shunt him out, Sam! After the way he tried to cross and scalp us? We can't run out on him, Sam. You ought to know that by now. Jaunt him out. Caster's place. Gisbella helped Quat haul Foyle to his shoulders. The temporal freaks seemed to fill the ward with shrieking streaks. The ward doors burst open. A dozen bolts from pneumatic guns whined through the ward, dropping the temporal patients in their gyrations. Quat was slammed back against a wall, dropping Foyle. A black and blue bruise appeared on his temple. Get to hell out of here, Quat roared. I'm done. Sam, I'm done. I can't jaunt. Go, girl. Trying to shake off the concussion that prevented him from jaunting, Quat straightened and charged forward, meeting the uniformed men who poured into the ward. Gisbella took Foyle's arm and dragged him out to the back of the ward, through a pantry, a clinic, a laundry supply, and down flights of ancient stairs that buckled and threw up clouds of termite dust. They came into a victual cellar. Baker's Zoo had broken out of their cells in the chaos and were raiding the cellar like bees gluttoning themselves with honey in an attacked hive. A Cyclops girl was cramming her mouth with handfuls of butter scooped from a tub. Her single eye above the bridge of her nose leered at them. Gisbella dragged Foyle through the victual cellar, found a bolted wooden door, and kicked it open. They stumbled down a flight of crumbling steps and found themselves in what had once been a coal cellar. The concussions and roarings overhead sounded deeper and hollow. A chute slot on one side of the cellar was barred with an iron door held by iron clamps. Gisbella placed Foyle's hands on the clamps. Together, they opened them and climbed out of the cellar through the coal chute. They were outside the freak factory, huddled against the rear wall. Before them were the Trenton rocket pits, and as they gasped for breath, Giz saw a freighter come sliding down an anti-grav beam into the waiting pit. Its portholes were blazing, and its recognition signals blinked like a lurid neon sign, illuminating the back wall of the hospital. A figure leapt from the roof of the hospital. It was Sam Quat, attempting a desperate flight. He sailed out into space, arms and legs flailing, trying to reach the upthrusting anti-grav beam of the nearest pit, which might catch him mid-flight and cushion his fall. His aim was perfect. 70 feet above ground, he dropped squarely into the shaft of the beam. It was not in operation. He fell and was smashed on the edge of the pit. Gisbella sobbed. Still automatically retaining her grip on Foyle's arm, she ran across the seamed concrete to Sam Quat's body. There, she let go of Foyle and touched Quat's head tenderly. Her fingers were stained with blood. Foyle tore at the bandages before his eyes, working eye holes through the gauze. He muttered to himself, listening to Gisbella weep and hearing the shouts behind him from Baker's factory. His hands fumbled at Quat's body. Then he arose and tried to pull Gisbella up. "Got to go," he croaked. "Got to get out. They seen us." Gisbella never moved. Foyle mustered all his strength and pulled her upright. "Tom Square," he muttered. "Jaunt, Giz." Uniformed figures appeared around them. Foyle shook Gisbella's arm and jaunted to Times Square, where masses of jaunters on the gigantic stage stared in amazement at the huge man with a white bandaged globe for a head. The stage was the size of 2 football fields. Foyle stared around dimly through the bandages. There was no sign of Gisbella, but she might be anywhere. He lifted his voice to a shout. "Montauk, Giz! Montauk! The Folly stage!" Foyle jaunted with a last thrust of energy and a prayer. An icy northeastern wind was blowing in from Block Island and sweeping brittle ice crystals across the stage on the site of a medieval ruin known as Fisher's Folly. There was another figure on the stage. Foyle tottered to it through the wind and the snow. It was Gisbella, looking frozen and lost. "Thank God," Foyle muttered. "Thank God. Where does Sam keep his weekender?" He shook Gisbella's elbow. "Where does Sam keep his weekender?" "Sam's dead." "Where does he keep that Saturn weekender?" "He's retired, Sam is. He's not scared anymore." "Where's the ship, Giz?" "In the yards down at the lighthouse." "Come on." "Where?" "To Sam's ship." Foyle thrust his big hand before Gisbella's eyes. A bunch of radiation keys lay in his palm. "I took his keys. Come on." "He gave them to you?" "I took them off his body." "Ghoul!" She began to laugh. "Liar! Lecher! Tiger! Ghoul! The walking cancer! Gully Foyle!" Nevertheless, she followed him through the snowstorm to Montauk Light. To 3 acrobats wearing powdered wigs, 4 flamboyant women carrying pythons, a child with golden curls and a cynical mouth, a professional duelist in medieval armor, and a man wearing a hollow glass leg in which goldfish swam, Saul Dignam said, "All right, the operation's finished. Call the rest off and tell them to report back to courier headquarters. The sideshow jaunted and disappeared. Regis Sheffield rubbed his eyes and asked, "What was that lunacy supposed to be, Dagenham?" "Disturbs your legal mind, eh? That was part of the cast of our FFCC operation. Fun, fantasy, confusion, and catastrophe." Dagenham turned to Precision and smiled his death's head smile. "I'll return your fee if you like, Precision." "You're not quitting?" "No, I'm enjoying myself. I'll work for nothing. I've never tangled with a man of Foyle's caliber before. He's unique." "How?" Sheffield demanded. "I arranged for him to escape from Godfrey Martel. He escaped all right, but not my way. I tried to keep him out of police hands with confusion and catastrophe. He ducked the police, but not my way, his own way. I tried to keep him out of Central Intelligence's hand with fun and fantasy. He stayed clear. Again, his own way. I tried to detour him into a ship so he could make it for Nomad. He wouldn't detour, but he got his ship. He's on his way out now." "You're following?" "Naturally," Dagenham hesitated. "But what was he doing in Baker's factory?" "Plastic surgery," Sheffield suggested. "A new face?" "Not possible. Baker's good, but he couldn't do a plastic that quick. It was minor surgery. Foyle was on his feet with his head bandaged." "The tattoo," Precision said. Dagenham nodded and the smile left his lips. "That's what's worrying me. You realize, Precision, that if Baker removed the tattooing, we'll never recognize Foyle." "My dear Dagenham, his face won't be changed." "We've never seen his face. Only the mask." "I haven't met the man at all," Sheffield asked. "What's the mask like?" "Like a tiger. I was with Foyle for 2 long sessions. I ought to know his face by heart, but I don't. All I know is that tattooing." "Ridiculous," Sheffield said bluntly. "No. Foyle has to be seen to be believed. However, it doesn't matter. He'll lead us out to Nomad. He'll lead us to your bullion empire, Precision. I'm almost sorry it's all over. Or nearly. As I said, I've been enjoying myself. He really is unique."